I'm Satvik. In this video, I'll be demonstrating your AWS hands-on project, and the project is Certification Uploadation Portal. Firstly, let's see the architectural design of this project. Here we can see a web browser, API gateway, Lambda, IAM, S3, and the DynamoDB. These are the services I have used in this project. Firstly, whenever a client or the user uses his web browser to access the project, he will be seeing a form. It is similar to this form. It is the basic version of the form they have created. It contains fields like ID, name, email, program, year, certification name, vendor name, URL, and finally uploading a PDF, that is the file of or the certificate. So after successfully uploading the file, the API gateway will check the request method type, that is get or post, and it will be triggering the Lambda event, and it will be giving the access from the IAM, and it will store the file in the S3 bucket. As DynamoDB can't store the files, it will be storing other fields and also the S3 bucket location. Let's do it practically. Log into your AWS console, search for the service called S3. In S3, we can see the option called Create Bucket. So let's first create a bucket. Click on it. I'm using the US East 1 region for this project. Bucket name. It should be globally unique. So it means that no one can use the same bucket name. So I'm giving the bucket name as student certificates. And the object ownership is ACL's enable. So the object in this bucket can be accessed by other accounts also. Block all public access is unchecked, so we are giving the public access. Bucket versioning also should be enabled because whenever we make a modification and upload in the file, it will be created as the versions. Finally, click on create. So the bucket is created. Let's go to the next service called Lambda. So click on create a function in the Lambda console. Give the function name. As this is not globally unique, you can give any name. Runtime. Runtime I am choosing as Python 3.10. You can choose any version of the Python. Here we need to define the role. As we have not created any role, let's create it in the IAM console. In the IAM console, go to the roles. In the roles, we can see select trusted entities AWS service, and the use case is Lambda. Click on next. Give the permission policies of S3 full access. And we need to give another permission also, that is DynamoDB. That is also full access. And finally, Lambda full access. So we have given three policies: DynamoDB full access, S3 full access, and the Lambda full access. Let's create the role. We need to give the role name. So I'm giving the role name as student. So the role is being created and it is created. Let's go back to the Lambda. Here we will be selecting the use an existing role and select the role that we have created, that is student. Click on create function. So the Lambda function is created. Now go to the next service called DynamoDB. Go to the DynamoDB. In this DynamoDB, we will be creating a table. So click on create table. Table name, I'm giving it as STUDS, that is student certification. For the partition key, I am giving is student ID, which is unique. Click on create table. So the table is being created. Next service is API gateway. So let's create the API gateway. Here we have various APIs, that is HTTP, WebSocket, REST and REST private. We will be choosing REST API. Click on build. It is a new API with the test API is the name of the API. Click on create. So we have created the API gateway also. Let's create a method. So in this method we will be using post, as we are sending the data to the storing of the files like in the S3 and DynamoDB as discussed. We'll be selecting post. Integration type is Lambda. We'll be selecting the Lambda function that we created. Click create method. So we have created the REST API also. So let's go back to the Lambda. So now what is left is writing the code. So we can copy the code from my GitHub repo. It is Satvikota certificate uploadation portal. In this you can download the zip file. We have files like index, script and lambda. I will be using the lambda, so as I already have in my VS code, I will be copying it. Just replace the code here. Make sure of few points. uh, as I have said before, bucket name is globally unique. You need to replace your bucket name here. Student certificates is my bucket name, and in the S3 location also you need to modify the bucket name. We have created the table also, so in the table you need to modify the table name here. Cert. This is my table name, and the bucket is student certificates. So just deploy the code. Click on test, new event, it is test, save. Go back to the API gateway, click on the slash, it is the path. Click on enable CORS. CORS will help us to maintain the sharing of the resources. We are checking the default 4xx, 5xx and post. 4xx and 5xx are related to the web browser integrations, and the post is a method. Click on save. So we have enabled the CORS now. What is left is deploying our API. You can see the option deploy API. Select the stage, new stage, and I'm giving this production in the short form as prod. I'm deploying. So we will be generating with the invoke URL. Copy it, go to your files. In the script.js, I have already mentioned where you need to replace your API gateway URL. Here this is the default URL as I have already defined it. Just replace it, save it, go back to your S3 bucket, back to your S3 bucket. In the S3 bucket, you have option called upload. Click on upload, add files. index and also the other file script. Click on upload. So now the files are uploaded. Select all the objects, that is the files. Click on actions. Make public using ACL. Make public. So now go to the properties tab. In the below we can see the static website hosting is default disabled. So click on edit. Enable it. For the index document, give as index.html. Click on save changes. Go back to the objects on properties itself. You will see a URL, that is your website URL. Access it. We can see the output, that is the form. I'll be giving the ID, name, mail, program, BTech, and the year is third year. Certification name AWS Cloud Practitioner. Vendor name AWS. Certification URL. If you don't have certification URL, you can also mention the vendor URL, that is www.aws.com. You will be selecting the file. Click on upload. So we can see the response, data uploaded successfully. Let's check whether it is successfully uploaded in the bucket or not. Go to the objects. Just refresh it. We can see here new file is added. That is the file we have uploaded from the browser. Let's check in the DynamoDB table also. It should store the fields and also the S3 bucket location. Click on explore table items. Okay, we can see one item written, that is the file that we have added. As it successfully stored the data. That's the end of the project. Thank you for watching.